Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now it's our lowest price of the season on our top-selling i8 smart bed. Your best savings, plus free home delivery with any base. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
You're listening to the Telltale Channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon.
The rise of the Satanists is kind of fascinating. Now, I'm not saying there are Satanists around every corner, that the Satanists are hiding under bed, anything like that. But one of the things that has happened in our post-God culture is that Satan...
We are not in a post-God culture. This is the exact thing that happened in the 1980s with the Satanic Panic. And it's what's happening now with the Trans Panic. We're watching it play out in front of our eyes. Again, I mean, I wasn't around for the Satanic Panic, but... You know, I saw the aftermath in my family. My family was deeply affected by it before I was born. And it was basically fear-mongering that Satanists were around every single corner. At the time, in like 1983, there was a daycare where basically a kid accused somebody of touching them. I don't even know what that meant exactly. In the end, we found that basically everybody was innocent, to my knowledge, in this daycare. Like, nobody did anything. It was just a misunderstanding. But this kid says that, but this parent comes over to the police and tells them, like, this kid accused this daycare of whatever. So the police go over there and they interview every single kid in the school and they say, did blah touch you? Now, if you ask a leading question like that to a 4-year-old, 13% are going to say yes, even when it didn't happen. And when asked to expand upon what happened, they said wild things, like they put a saddle on my back and rode me around the room like a horse. They were floating in midair. I mean, it was just really odd stuff. And instead of the police saying to themselves, maybe we did this wrong. Maybe it was our fault. Maybe we were the idiots here. Instead of them saying that, naturally, they said, believe them, believe them. Somebody's floating above the floor. They were levitating. Believe them. It was Satanists. Everybody in that daycare had basically, it was placed under a microscope. And I think the daycare shut down and the owners went to jail, I believe. It was all fake. It was all made up. McMartin Preschool. Is that the one? I can never remember. McCarthy or McMartin, I thought. After that, everything in society fell apart. Like, there were accusations of Satanists around every corner. And Republicans were debating on TV. Should Satanists be allowed to be daycare workers? If somebody is a Satanist, should they be allowed to be a teacher? Now, how many daycares have Satanists that work there? Or how many teachers have Satanists when they're almost none? Like 5 in the country? But they turned it into a big thing. And they claimed it was millions of children are affected by this every day. They're around every corner. They're trying to get you. It's a social contagion that spreads from one person to the next. It is exactly what we are seeing. It's the exact strategy that was used in the 80s and is being used now. And honestly, it was used in Germany also. The Nazi movement was all wrapped up in their heads that there were Jews at all levels in the church, that there were Jews who converted to Christianity, but they believe that Jews are, like, by their nature, like, deceitful and bad. They cannot be good, so converting out of Judaism doesn't work because it's a race thing. Anyway, they claimed that there were Jews everywhere, that half of the Christian church was made up of non-Aryans, quote unquote. And when they actually ran the numbers, they found that it affected almost nobody. They had already passed the Aryan paragraph. which prevented non-Aryans or Jews or whatever from being involved in like ministry, like the church business in any way. And they were in the process of splitting them up and making them have their own congregations completely. And they decided to go after the musicians next. It says, as Songen later wrote, there was no serious practical threat to church music work for the very reason that the number of non-Aryans employed as church musicians was minimal. 18,000 pastors in the evangelical church at the time, right? It says, the church chancellery jubilantly informed the Reich Chamber of Music that only 19 Jews and half-Jews in all, among the 10,000 Jewish musicians in Germany, were active in the area of church music or of organ performance. These 19 musicians included 12 full Jews, 1 Jew with 3 Jewish grandparents, and 6 half-Jews. Of the 12 full Jews, 9 were not employed by the evangelical church. About half of them had been active as organists, choir directors, or cantors in synagogues. The 10th full Jew lived in Switzerland, and it was fairly certain that he's not been employed by a Protestant congregation. So 2 full Jews remain who served Protestant congregations in 1933. The point is that the people we're talking about, Rocky, Malloy, and others, they're trying to fearmonger about people and wedge themselves in just a little bit, trying to claim that like there's an epidemic of Christian hate or of trans people or whatever, and they need to find a solution to it. His solution? Put chaplains in schools. This is just one little wedge. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Back in 1983, they did all that with the children. Today, Matt Walsh says
barely exist anymore because they've all become transgender. They've all this is what they do now. There are a lot of people, doctors who got into the medical field and they did a certain thing, and then the transgender stuff came along, and that's their whole, that's what they do. Well, it's the same for a lot of plastic surgeons. That this is basically their whole business now, is doing the gender surgeries.
So he's implying that it's a money-making machine, that people are getting rich off of trans surgeries. This is what I'm talking about. How many people are affected by this? Like none. How many people were trying to be teachers and were also Satanists? Like none. And in Germany, they were trying to remove church musicians that had any kind of Jewish like background or like affiliation or whatever. Out of 10,000 church musicians, they basically found 19 that were either half Jewish or quarter Jewish or whatever. Only 4 were employed in the service of a Protestant congregation in 1933. And 2 of them left office. So this affects like nobody, but there's a panic over it.
And so you see the incentive for them. I mean, they have staked everything on this. They've also staked their professional reputation.
They're talking about doctors that are giving trans surgeries, really.
Because that's the other problem. Not only is it the political incentive and the money, but if they admit that they're wrong, then they're also admitting that they have horribly disfigured and abused thousands, maybe millions of kids.
How many was that? I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Then they're also admitting that they have horribly disfigured and abused thousands, maybe millions of kids.
Millions of kids. No need to wonder if that's true. Joe Rogan is about to fact check him.
How many people have had this done?
Depends on what. I don't think we have exact numbers, but it's, if we're talking.
No, we do. We do have exact numbers, actually.
Talking about the drugs, it's, I mean, millions.
You're talking about hormone blockers.
Yeah.
Okay, so he started with doctors giving children trans-affirming surgery. And now he's backed it up to doctors treating trans children with like HRT or hormone blockers or whatever. So we're already moving backward. Okay, go on.
I mean, millions.
You're talking about hormone blockers.
Yeah.
Millions of kids have been on hormone blockers? Really?
I'm sure someone's going to fact check me on it, but my guess is that we're into the millions now at this.
Dude made a full documentary on this subject. Has no fucking idea how many people are affected by it.
Point, yeah, that would be my guess. I can say for double mastectomies, I read a report recently that there were over 1,000 done between 2016 and 2019.
Oh, 1,000 done. How about that? Yeah, that's breast removal or reduction, I think. But, that happens for reasons other than, because somebody is trans. There are all kinds of things that could cause something like that to happen. And either way, we're not talking children. We're talking teenagers. When he says children, the thing that pops in your head automatically is like 6-year-old. 6-year-olds don't have breasts to cut off.
And when you compare that to how many were done between, 2008 and 2015, it's a massive increase. And
yeah, 10,000% increase. Do you know that there was like a 10,000% increase in church musicians in Germany who were non-Aryan? It went from 4 to 19. That's like a 400% jump. There's something going on, guys. We got to do something about this. That is the level of dumb as dog that we're dealing with. Between 2008 and 2015, it was fewer than 1,000. And now it's more than 1,000 in his mind. I don't even know. I don't think that's even true. And he's losing his shit over it.
2008 and 2015, it's a massive increase. And over 1,000 girls had gender affirming double mastectomies in that time frame.
And when you
say
girls, you're
yeah, and you know what? Even if it is, he started with millions. Okay, he started with millions. And backed down to certainly thousands, certainly 1,000. I think 1,000 maybe. Oh, and by the way, is he talking about people that have nose jobs as like literal children, like 10 years old? Talking about those? Because there were 33,000 of those, I think between 2018 and 2022. I don't remember. I looked the statistic up recently. Lots and lots and lots of nose jobs. Does he care? No, he doesn't care. That one's gender affirming too, or it can be.
Gender affirming double mastectomies in that time frame.
And when you say girls, you're talking about prepubescent?
Right. Minors.
No. Are you kidding me? He said double mastectomy, removing breasts from a woman, happened to thousands of girls under prepubescent. Really? How does anybody buy this? How does anybody believe this? This is what I'm talking about. Blowing this problem out of the water. Like it's this massive thing. Come to find out, there were only really 4 non-Aryan musicians in Germany. There were really only like under 1,000 kids or under 18 people that had any kind of treatment whatsoever for trans stuff.
And that's just up until 2019. And then we know that there's been this exponential increase with all this stuff year over year. So it's a lot. It's too many. Having this happen to one kid is way too many. It's a lot more than one.
Yeah.
Having more than one church organist who is non-Aryan is too many, the Germans said. One is too many. Who f***ing cares? Really, who f***ing cares? Why is it any of your business? It's not. He is tangibly making people's lives more difficult and falling into the exact same pattern that happened under the Satanic Panic and the exact same pattern that happened in Germany in the 30s. The same moral panics.
Look, if you're an adult and you want to do that and you understand who you are and what you are and this is how you feel you should progress, you're an adult. This is a free country. You should
Matt Walsh doesn't believe that, see.
be able to do whatever you want. But when you're talking about doing that to children, the fact that so many people are on board and so many people are angry.
Brother, nobody is on board with this. Nobody is angry about it or whatever. But like in Germany, they were probably saying at the time, this isn't a problem. This isn't happening. What are you talking about? There are not Jews in every part of like society and higher society. Like they're not running the media and the banking system. They're not like dictating doctrine in the churches. This is not happening. Okay. Sure. Yes. If there was a cabal of evil people that controlled society at the very top and they were all of one ethnicity and they were all evil and trying to hurt people, or yeah, that'd be bad. Okay. The reason people are fighting this is because it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. I reject the premise completely. I'm not going to say this is good or bad. I'm not going to feed into it. I'm not going to play into it. It was nonsense in the 90s under the Satanic Panic. It was nonsense in the 30s under the moral panic at the time, and it's nonsense now.
If you have, like, people are going to be angry at us that we're having these conversations.
Yeah, because it's a fucking stupid conversation.
Yeah, they will be. And I also, I actually think that that.
Oh boy, you see the screen turned white. Joe Rogan, the screen turned white behind him. That means Jamie pulled up the numbers. You ready for the numbers?
That this shouldn't be happening to.
It's a very small number, if that's right.
It says over the last 5 years, there were at least 4,780 adolescents who started puberty blockers.
Oh boy, wow, that's a far cry from millions who have had trans-affirming surgery, isn't it?
And had a prior gender dysphoria diagnosis.
This says it's kind of undercounted, but that's
That would be a big
less than
undercounting.
1,000 people a year.
Yeah.
That's a big undercount, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
Almost like he was completely full of shit from day one, huh? Almost like he has no idea what he's talking about. Almost like he made a whole documentary on this subject, What is a Woman? And had no fucking clue what any of the statistics were around this subject or anything at all. Almost like he was just going to random people and trying to get like clickbait moments from them by saying, what is a woman? You know what I would say if asked, what is a woman by Matt Walsh? Like I'm standing there with him and he says, what is a woman? I'd say, I'm not going to feed into this ridiculous bullshit. And he would take that clip of me saying that and he'd say, they refuse to define woman. They won't tell us what a woman is. It's propaganda.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would guess hundreds of thousands.
Okay, well, you're wrong.
But I could be wrong.
You could be.
Million sounds great.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
It sounds great. Aren't you fighting this?
The Media Matters will have fun with that clip.
Yeah.
Matt Walsh claims it was.
Yeah, it's because it's dumb as dog. Again, it's dumb as dog, okay?
Stop it. Get some help.
Really, the point that I want to drive home is that this is a moral panic. It's been a moral panic since day one. Exact same as the Salem witch trials, even. Same as the claim that there's a secret cabal of Jews running Germany. Same as the satanic panic. We're dealing with it today. And why? Because it's easy to create a scenario that everybody can agree is wrong and point fingers at people and get people on board. It's like the bumper sticker, kill your local person who takes advantage of children. It's a demographic of people that everybody wants dead or doesn't want in society otherwise. And right-wingers are trying to normalize violence as a solution so that they can then expand the definition out a little bit to be, well, maybe like gay people take advantage of children. I just know it. I'm sure of it. Or trans people are trying to indoctrinate the children. That definitely fits, right? The solutions that they propose are expanded to apply to an ever-increasing list of people. Like the Don't Say Gay bill is another example. It started out, it was applying to only elementary schools. And then once they got it in the door, they expanded it to be middle and high schools. Start small and work your way up. That's how these moral panics start. That's how they explode. And that's how they continue. Black people marrying white women is another moral panic that happened. They're trying to muddy our blood. They're trying to get one over on the white man by marrying their daughters and stuff. Moral panic. It's bull. Clipped again. Right. Anyway, it's all bull all the way down. Always was. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. This is Ben Shapiro. He reviewed a Satanist video and gave us priceless nuggets of wisdom on this subject. So let's listen, see what he has to say here.
The rise of the Satanists is kind of fascinating. I'm not saying there are Satanists around every corner, that the Satanists are hiding under bed, anything like that. But one of the things that has happened in our post-God culture is that Satanism and its
Post-God culture? Where the hell did he get that? He thinks we're in a post-God culture right now? This is a joke, right? He's got to be joking. Christian nationalism is storming the gates, okay? No, Christian nationalism is in. They are controlling things at the moment. I don't want to hear it. He knows that. He is one person I believe is completely full of shit. He knows better. He can't possibly not know that what he's saying is a lie. He can't believe otherwise because he's a Harvard graduate, a Harvard Law School graduate. Truthfully, you can't make it through law school and make the arguments that he is making, in my opinion.
sort of weird philosophical offshoots have now embedded themselves all over American society. I don't mean...
No. Satanism has not embedded itself all over society or its cultural offshoots or whatever. Give me a break, bro.
Have now embedded themselves all over American society. I don't mean people who literally worship Satan.
Hello.
I just mean that the political positions and the philosophical positions that are taken by Satanists, like sort of the modern day Satanists, they've embedded themselves everywhere.
So he's saying that like Satanists are really in power in America. Is he trying to start a new satanic panic? Is that what he's doing?
Almost impossible not to see the religious viewpoint that is known as Satanism, meaning the worship of the altar of God, the other side of God, in sort of traditional Christian theology, the fallen angel, right, who is now rebelling against God, and this is an act of good. You know, that sort of philosophy has now diffused itself throughout the society.
No, it hasn't. It's completely fictitious, but just to expand on that a little bit, the Satanic Temple and the Church of Satan are two major Satanist groups. I'm not a huge fan of the Church of Satan. They're okay, I guess. They're kind of if I'm going to be honest. The Satanic Temple's where it's at. Those people are really cool. They've worked with YouTubers a lot. They've spoken with us. I know people that know them and everything. Anyway, they respect Satan as a literary character. If you think about it, in the Bible, Satan never told a single lie, not one. But God told lots of lies. You can rationalize and justify all you want, but those are the facts. God said, on the day that you eat the fruit, you will surely die. That didn't happen. Satan said, or supposedly said, it wasn't even Satan, it was a snake. But let's go with the Christian canon for a moment. Satan says to Adam and Eve, you will not die. You will gain knowledge of good and evil and be like gods. And sure enough. So the point is, imagine with me for a moment a scenario in which Satan really won the battle and dictated the Bible as though he was the good guy rather than the bad guy, as though he was God. Like, what if God was actually the snake and Satan was the bad guy who took control from God? And God is the snake, God the snake, is trying to help everybody by giving us real information and trying to help us overthrow God or whatever. Imagine that for a moment. That is the not actual belief behind the Satanic Temple. Like, they don't actually believe that about the Bible, but that's a concept behind it. Satan is a respectable, interesting literary character that stands for fighting fascism. It stands for rebellion, thinking for yourself, individuality, all of the qualities that America purports to love. Anyway, let's keep listening.
An act of good. That sort of philosophy has now diffused itself throughout the society. I don't mean like literal Satan worship. I mean the idea that opposition to God is an act of good. The reason that this comes to mind is because there was a clip that was floating around the internet yesterday from Boston Satan Con.
How about new? So by the way, this clip is from, it's pretty old, but it's interesting anyway. May 2nd, 2023.
First of all, I should mention at this point, the Satanic Temple, the one that was holding Satan Con, apparently has about 700,000 members at this point, registered members. They put out a press release on this. According to statistics published by the Pew Research Center, this new membership milestone ranks the Satanic Temple ahead of worldwide numbers of Rastafari and just under Unitarian Universalism in total worldwide adherence. And so there's a video going around from SatanCon 2023 of a young woman who's ripping pages out of the Bible and throwing them on the...
Like, why would Ben Shapiro care about this? He's not a Christian. He's Jewish. He doesn't give a shit about the Bible, right? It's because he wants to weaponize Christians' hate and anger That's what he's doing. We are watching him weaponize Christianity against people.
She's just shouting as she rips pages out of a Bible and casts them on the ground. She said before doing this, quote, "We stand here today in defiance of their siege and destroy their symbols of oppression."
Oh, I see. So he pops up an image of a couple of people wearing masks because you think that's an image of oppression? Bro, you didn't have to wear a mask if you didn't want at any point ever during the pandemic. You couldn't, well, you know what? You couldn't go to certain places, like certain restaurants, certain sit-down areas. But I don't think there was a mask mandate at any point, not a federal one, ever. There was also not a lockdown, official, like you're not allowed to leave unless it's for groceries. That did not happen. That was just society saying, holy shit, this is real. We've got to be really careful and listen to what they're saying. The government recommended things as we learned information. People were wiping off their groceries when they came, just in case, COVID had gotten on the groceries, I remember. People were not going outside because they didn't know how it transmitted. And as we learned new information, how dangerous it is or isn't, and all this other stuff, we slowly but surely started getting back to normal life as much as we could. One of those things that we did was wear masks for protection. Like, what's the big deal? Why are these people so wrapped up in their heads about masks?
She also ripped up a thin blue line flag representing the police.
No. The thin blue line flag doesn't represent the police. It represents the oppositional movement pushing back against, it's a counter protest to the protest against police brutality. That's what it is. They're protesting the protest of brutality.
She also ripped up a thin blue line flag representing the police. A male leader joined her in tearing that thin blue line flag in two. They tossed that on the floor while the crowd cheered. And then Satanists apparently picked up the ripped pages off the floor and posed with them for pictures. The male leader apparently said, "We must build true community outside the virtual. Rebelling comes in many forms, each and their own, within their own capabilities and their own situation. For some of us, merely existing one more day is victory. For those of us who can, we must stand up to those who cannot." So
have better words ever been spoken? Have truer words ever been spoken?
Merely existing one more day is victory. For those of us who can, we must stand up to those who cannot. So
must stand up to those who cannot. Interesting. I can't imagine why anybody would have a problem with that messaging, honestly.
The temple, the satanic temple, the temple of Satanism or whatever the
satanic temple. You had it right the first time.
Ridiculous organization is. It claims to be non-theistic. They say that they don't actually believe in a personal Satan, like the supernatural being.
That's correct. Almost nobody does. I'll take that step. I'll say nobody actually believes. Well, all right, rephrase. Nobody is a Satanist. No Satanists actually believe in like a literal Satan. There are a couple of weird little fringe groups out there with like 15 members or something. The Order of Nine Angles, Joy of Satan is another. There are some theistic Satanist groups or whatever. But again, there are like 3 of them total. Order of Nine Angles is actually a terrorist group to my knowledge. I haven't researched them in a while, but anyway. Yeah, the point is pretty much every Satanist in society today is non-theistic. They don't believe in a literal Satan.
That would be Satan.
That just makes no sense. I mean, it's just bullshit.
Instead,
no, they just respect the literary character.
They hold these basic...
Dude, and you know what? Bill Nye would be disgusted at the fact that Ben Shapiro is using him to further pro-white nationalist propaganda.
Satan.
That just makes no sense. I mean, it's just bullshit.
Instead, they hold these basic secularist principles, but they call it satanic because Satan is the adversary of God, and God supposedly does not like these principles. And as you will note, the crossover between the fundamental tenets of the Satanic Temple and the fundamental tenets of sort of left-wing liberalism at this point are almost indistinguishable.
Yeah, that's by design. That's not because the left conformed to Satanism. That's because Satanists value those things. We value human rights. You know what he's doing right now? It's exactly like this. Do you know that Hitler drank water and he killed a bunch of people? If you drink water, you might also kill a bunch of people, so you shouldn't drink water. That's the line of logic. Seriously.
Which is why the Satan Con 2023 schedule featured, and I'm now reading you the names of some of the events at Satan Con 2023. Deconstructing your religious upbringing with Judas Marduk. Fake name, right? reclaiming the trans.
Well, some of them are fake, but no, actually, I know people that changed their like Aaron Ra is Aaron Ra's legal name. That is his real name. So anyway, whatever.
Judas Marduk. Fake name, right? Reclaiming the trans body. Atheistic strategies for self-determining and empowerment. Ah, yes, the trans body. Because obviously, Satan is a big fan of the trans, according to the Satanic Temple.
Well, no, he's a big fan of human rights, actually. But okay, just keep lying about it, I guess.
Obviously, Satan is a big fan of the trans, according to the Satanic Temple.
Well, you said it, pal.
Sins.
Dude, I'm sorry. I love that he stuck in a clip of The Boys, not realizing that this show was making fun of him. It was making fun of Ben Shapiro and Trump more specifically, I think, with the blonde hair and everything else. I mean, it's so on the nose, you can't miss it.
Sins of the Flesh, Satanism, and Self-Pleasure from Dr. Eric Sprinkle. Reimagining Lilith as an archetype for reproductive justice, according to Amanda Barton. And Satanism and the BIPOC Experience from Sit Lally and Panel. So just to check off those boxes, that would be why religion is terrible. That would be transgenderism. That would be hedonism and masturbation, abortion, and racial intersectionality.
Yeah, those are issues that people care about. Racial intersectionality. Like, why is Ben Shapiro opposed to that? Really? He cannot have gone through law school and not know that he can't not know what racial intersectionality is. It's impossible for him to have gone through Harvard Law School and not know. Different demographics or different, like, traits, or I don't know what you call it, like different immutable properties about you, your skin color or your gender or whatever. Those things intersect because people are treated differently if they're women, and they're treated differently if they're black, and they're treated differently if they're trans. People are treated differently based on these different qualities about them, and those things intersect. I don't understand how we can not know that.
Those are the things that are being reviewed at SatanCon 2023.
Like, every conservative convention discusses those things too. They're just complaining on the other side.
There is a reason for this. Here are the 7 fundamental tenets of the Satanic Temple. And the reason, again, that I'm bringing this up, not just because this clip is floating around the internet, but because once you recognize that so much of today's politics, so much of today's value system is built around opposition to traditional morality.
So opposition to Christianity is opposition to traditional morality, he says. Interesting. Christianity is traditional morality, is what he's saying. Do I even need to dissect that? We do not get our morality from the Bible. It is literally impossible because every moral precept the Bible proposes is reversed a chapter later because the authors were of different social classes, you know, kings and peasants, rich and poor, across the spectrum. And they all had different views on things. And guess what? The author's biases slipped in. You can clearly see it. If you have a moral position, like you don't think women should be involved in ministry, you can justify that with the Bible. If you think women should be involved in the ministry, you can justify that with the Bible. Jesus involved women in the ministry. Those verses about it, 2 Timothy 2:12, that's fake. That was added later. Paul did not say that. You know, I shall not suffer a woman to teach. She'll be in subjugation to a man, whatever. It's fake. You literally cannot get your morality from the Bible because it is so diverse in the things that it says. Thousands of pages, largely nonsense.
You can actually spot where the problem may lie in the destruction of our civil society. The 7 fundamental tenets of the Satanic Temple are: 1 should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. Right? Reason is going to replace, again, these are people who call themselves Satanists. Reason is going to replace religion. There is no objective morality. All that exists is what's in your mind. And
that's correct. Yes, that is absolutely correct. There is no objective morality. People that claim that they get their morality from the Bible already have a set of values that they adhere to and are looking through the Bible for affirmation that those values are correct. And a lot of those values are held because their parents held them, like anti-gay marriage, for example. You know, prejudice is learned. It's not something we're born with. It's not like something that, you know, it's not like in our genes. People are prejudiced because somebody knew that they could use that to benefit themselves by turning people against somebody else. And it worked. It carries on to this day. And on morality, we don't have an objective morality. We don't. Our ability to build models in our heads was the thing that gave us the ability to understand empathy. Like the ability to model a plan to catch a mammoth, for example. You know, one guy's standing down there with a big butterfly net while another one is running toward the mammoth with a spear to scare it into the butterfly net. Everybody in that system had models in their head of what was happening, and that's the basis for empathy. We can build a model in our head of what somebody else, our friend, is experiencing. We can experience that in our minds with him. So we don't want suffering to exist in the world for that reason. We want to eliminate suffering to the best of our ability. That's where morality comes from. And if you notice, different societies have different standards of morality. They have different moral precepts because they learned different values throughout their lives, throughout the generations. It is not objective, period.
Reason is going to replace religion. There is no objective morality. All that exists is what's in your mind. And it's all about compassion and reason.
So is compassion and reason bad? I don't understand why he's saying this.
This is the hallmark of sort of enlightenment thinking, post-enlightenment thinking. It goes absolutely nowhere because as it turns out, when you leave people to their own devices in terms of reason and compassion, they tend to have compassion for themselves and their friends, and they tend to utilize their reason to justify their own cruel and bad behavior.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Let me just try to break that down. So he's saying if we base our morals off of reason and compassion, then we inevitably don't care about people that are outside of our social circles. Inevitably, it must follow. It is a necessary product if we do not base our morals on the Bible. If we instead base them on our own propensity for compassion, then we will inevitably and without question not care about people that aren't like us. Hey, Jagoff, that is the point of building this framework for laws in the United States where we try to eliminate suffering. That is the whole point behind it. So he just invalidated his complaint.
Of the 7 fundamental tenets, the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions, right? All of tradition should be worn down and destroyed because we have these higher ideals of justice that we can't actually explain, but it means
can't explain higher ideals of justice that you can't explain. No, it can be explained. I mean, I'm not sure which specific things he's referring to, but, the Satanic Temple has a set of ideals for, the justice system. Is that what he's talking about, I guess? I mean, this is just completely fictitious. And this traditionalism should be worn down and destroyed or whatever. I'm not sure what he's talking about, but there is a struggle historically between going backward and going forward. Right-wing populists have historically appealed to going backward. Make Germany great again, for example. Make America great again. And revolutions, on the other hand, are more in favor of moving forward. In fact, they're so in favor of moving forward that they'll even start a new date, start a new calendar, a new dating system. Start from year 0. Like in the French Revolution, for example, they were disturbed by their past. So that's kind of the eternal struggle, is the point.
Should prevail over laws and institutions, right? All of tradition should be worn down and destroyed.
I don't think all tradition should be worn down and destroyed. I don't think they believe that either. But I want to move forward. I want to make progress on society. You want to go back to the 1950s? Do you know how horrifically bad the 50s were? It was a monstrously evil time with how people were treated.
Because we have these higher ideals of justice that we can't actually explain, but it means that everything that is old should just be bashed down. One's body...
It's just bullshit. He's just making this up. Does he believe the things that he's saying right now? I can't tell.
One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone.
Bodily autonomy is what that's called, yes. And we value that in the law, and he knows that as a lawyer. He knows that.
Because all you are is your body and your subjective sense of pleasure. The freedoms
of
others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. Well, the Satanic Temple presumably does not believe totally in the freedoms of others because they're obviously very much pro-abortion. They're in favor of the trans...
Yeah. The freedom of others to make decisions for their own bodies. He knows this argument. Do I really need to go through this? He certainly knows this. You get in a car accident and you you black out, you wake up in a hospital bed next to somebody who's a famous violinist, and you are giving your blood to this person. What just happened is a violation of your bodily autonomy. You have the full right, and you should have the right, to pull the IV out of your arm. Even if the person's going to die, you have no obligation to, or you shouldn't have any obligation to give over your autonomy, your ability to make decisions for yourself. Now, with abortion, to circle back around, it's the exact same thing. If you want to call it a person, which it's not, simply a grouping of cells, literally like too small to see. But if you want to call it that, we can use that argument, the bodily autonomy argument. Nobody has a right to use our bodies for any reason without our permission, period. Full stop. That's it. He knows that argument. You cannot convince me he doesn't. It's a classic bodily autonomy argument. But we don't talk about bodily autonomy much, but we totally should. It's so ridiculously important, and it's being violated all the time. Like circumcision, for example, a violation of bodily autonomy.
Others, because they're obviously very much pro-abortion, they're in favor of the transing of the children, and all the rest. Beliefs should conform.
In favor of transing the children. Okay, now it's a verb, I guess. Transing them. Okay.
To one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's belief. Says once again the Satanic Temple that is called the Satanic Temple.
What point's he making?
And also is a backer of abortion and transgenderism among children.
What point is he making? He says the Satanic Temple's tenets are value science. Says the Satanic Temple. Can you imagine the Satanic Temple saying such a thing? Base beliefs on science. The Satanic Temple. What point are you making?
People are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that may have been caused, and every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. So again, it's this sort of Gnostic spirit prevails over.
No, brother, it's not. It is the exact opposite of that.
Over action, spirit prevails over word, spirit prevails over law.
I have no idea what you're talking about. What does any of that mean? Is he trying to turn it into like a theology intentionally to get people to hate it more? I don't know.
It's feelings, but it's also science, but it's also Satanism. Okay, now, the reason, again, that I'm bringing this up is because the perspectives that are being mirrored by the Satanic Temple is taking itself not from secular culture. I mean, the secular culture is not taking itself from Satanism. Satanism.
There you go. You got it. This is the point he was making in the beginning. He was implying that they were taking it from Satanism. And now he's just admitting it.
Taking itself not from secular culture. I mean, the secular culture is not taking itself from Satanism. Satanism, in this particular iteration, is taking itself from just general secular values. And so when you see the identity of the...
Oh, so you should not be for secular values because Satanists are for secular values. I see. So you should value... you know what? Satanists are against slavery. Let's take the position against the Satanists. Why don't we? Are you telling me that slavery is good because Satanists oppose it? That's literally the degree of argumentation that he's laying down for us right now. That is what he's saying. If a Satanist is pro-slavery, or if a Satanist is anti-slavery, we should be pro-slavery.
Two, that should tell you something about where we stand morally in Western society today. The coincidence between sort of secular morality and Satanism is very clear, at least
the coincidence between them?
According to the Satanic Temple. They said they do not subscribe to supernaturalism. So in that way, we do not believe that Satan is a deity, being, or person. As an organized religion, we actively provide outreach and participate in public affairs where the issues might benefit from rational, satanic insight.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
What is their mission? The mission is to encourage benevolence and empathy among all people. We believe, and we should all be guided by our consciences to undertake noble pursuits, guided by our individual wills. Right? The Nietzschean Superman. It's all will.
He just basically called them Nazis by saying that. Hitler was super into Nietzsche, and a lot of the Nazis valued Nietzsche very much. I think he was German, and he was a philosopher, and he was kind of nonsensical, honestly, but they loved Nietzsche. And what was the other?
Guided by our individual wills. Right? The Nietzschean Superman.
Übermensch. It was a German word that was used in contrast to Untermensch, subhuman. Like the Jews were Untermensch, the Germans or the Aryans are Übermensch. What a colossal scumbag, dude. Really.
Stop it. Get some help.
Consciences to undertake noble pursuits guided by our individual wills, right? The Nietzschean Superman. It's all will. The Satanic Temple practices non-theistic Satanism. We believe religion can and should be divorced from superstition. As such, we do not believe in either God or the devil as supernatural forces. We bow to no gods or gods and celebrate our outsider status. To embrace the name Satan is to embrace rational inquiry, removed from supernaturalism and archaic tradition-based superstitions. The Satanists should actively work to hone critical thinking and exercise reasonable inquiry in all things. Our beliefs must be malleable to the best current scientific understandings of the material world, never the reverse. So they say that they differ only in secular philosophies in a couple of ways. Quote, a unifying attribute of all Satanists is our embrace of our outsider status. Satanists adhere to the principles of individual sovereignty and the rejection of tyrannical authority. Additionally, Satanism is deeply rooted in a rich historical tradition which spans thousands of years in cultures across the globe. We embrace our literary and philosophic roots as part of our religion. These histories and
Dude, this is great ASMR. Just sitting here listening to Ben Shapiro read the tenets of Satanism. Big fan.
thousands of years in cultures across the globe. We embrace our literary and philosophic roots as part of our religion. These histories and concerns are of paramount importance to us, but are not fundamental components of humanism or other secular philosophies. So basically, they are just secularism, but they like to hook that up with Satanism. Now, again, these two things are not in direct opposition. Remember that Satan as a sort of quasi-biblical concept, it differs from Judaism to Christianity. But historically speaking, Satan was the opposite of God. Well, secularism also considers itself in many ways the opposite.
No, it does not in any way. He says in many ways, in no ways. Secularism is, let me just define it here. Denoting attitudes, activities, or other things that have no religious or spiritual basis. Like secular buildings would be buildings that are not churches, for example. Secular society is one where religion is a private matter for you, and it's not pushed by the government. The government does not fund or encourage one religion over another.
Historically speaking, Satan was the opposite of God. Well, secularism also considers itself in many ways the opposite of God. So there is an identity between the two, which is why you see the values of SatanCon being mirrored in so much of our society.
Again, this argument is basically Satanists are against slavery, so we should be in favor of it.
Like the same classes being taught at SatanCon are now taught in third grade at public schools across the nation. And why gender is a spectrum. Why you should be able to
No, that is not taught in third grade. Nobody's teaching that in schools at all.
In third grade at public schools across the nation. And why gender is a spectrum. Why you should be able to trans the kids. Why abortion is an ultimate good.
Nobody is arguing any of that in schools. Literally nobody.
The value of intersectional identity. Right? All of these things that are being taught in the widespread culture are being mirrored by the Satanic Temple and vice versa. Because when you realize that secularism defines itself in opposition to traditional religious values, you understand the necessity of transgressing all the rules, breaking down all the rules, breaking down all the boundaries. And so when I say that Satanism is now diffused through the again, I don't mean that people worship Satan. I mean that in the original sense, if you read the Bible, like the original Hebrew Bible, when it talks about Satan, it's talking about the adversary. The adversary in Jewish
there is no Satan in the Jewish belief system. Satan isn't actually, an adversary is not mentioned until Job, and it's not Satan. It's a word that is used that kind of sounds a little bit like Satan. It was somebody who is asking a question inquisitively. Hey, God, do you think that Job would still worship you if his life was destroyed? And God says, I think so. Let's destroy his life. And they burn him to the ground. Boils, take his children, his wife, his cattle, his land, his everything. And he still worships. So the questioner says, you were right. How about that? That's what that was about. Our modern conception of Satan didn't come around until 300 CE, give or take. The Apocalypse of Peter was written in 100 to 150 CE. So 100 years after Jesus died. And it was challenging the book of Revelation for a position in the Bible. And the book of Revelation won out at the end of the day, obviously. But the Apocalypse of Peter should have won. The Apocalypse of Peter is kind of the predecessor to Dante's Inferno, the book. The book is called Divine Comedy. It was by Dante. And there's a chapter titled Inferno, I believe. And it detailed hell, basically. And a lot of people say that's where we get our concept of hell. Actually, it's not. The Apocalypse of Peter, around 100 years after Jesus' death, is where we get our concept of hell. But the devil is very much a Christian thing. It's not Jewish in any way. In fact, original sin was added later. Concept of like an afterlife was even added later. I think Jews today believe that they will have an afterlife like in heaven. I don't remember what the current belief system is.
Again, I don't mean that people worship Satan. I mean that in the original sense, if you read the Bible, like the original Hebrew Bible, when it talks about Satan, it's talking about the adversary. The adversary in Jewish philosophy is supposed to be a messenger of God who sort of plays almost prosecuting attorney against man. But the idea of being adversarial toward religion.
So he says he's a messenger of God. That's literally how the word angel is translated. It means messenger of God. So he's saying he was an angel that plays prosecutor against man. So he's saying that Satan in Jewish philosophy is one that just doesn't like mankind and is trying to talk God into destroying it, I guess.
Has now been taken up by all of our society, which is how you get to the cultural predations that we currently see, in which all traditional ideas have to be torn down. And I will mention the cowardice of the people over at the Satanic Temple. I noticed one thing they were not doing is
their cowardice
is ripping the pages out of Quran. And they're very
please
very fond of ripping pages out of Bibles because they know that Christians are going to be totally fine with it. And
no, that's not why they do it. Is because Islam doesn't really affect people in the United States right now. It's the center of debate and hate and everything in Europe because there are a lot of refugees coming from Middle Eastern countries who are Muslim and trying to immigrate or seek asylum in European countries like the UK, for example. So it's a problem over there. But you know what problem we're dealing with here in America? Christian nationalists doing everything that they can to commandeer the reins of government and control it and impose their religious beliefs on everybody around them, up to and including forcing them to go to church every week. That is in Project 2025. Forcing them not to look at, pictures that they don't want them to look at. Forcing them to burn books or get rid of books that they own. They're not allowed to go to the library and borrow certain books. That's the problem we're dealing with. Now, the Satanic Temple, I can say this personally because I know some of the people over there are not afraid of coming at Islam. They're not.
And don't care and are annoyed, but let it go. You rip the pages out of a Quran and see how it goes for you over at SatanCon 2023.
Yeah, it would be fine. Nobody would care. It doesn't affect us here, really. Islam has problems and is absolutely psychotic in a lot of ways, and they do believe that the death penalty is a just punishment for blasphemy and a bunch of other things, but not in America. It's just not a problem here. Anyway, tell me what you think about Ben Shapiro breaking down the Satanic Temple's tenets for us. Absolutely insane. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. This dude is a self-proclaimed Trump prophet.
We would never be this defensive of Donald Trump if you would not have forced us into this cult mentality.
It was me that forced Shane into the cult mentality. Okay. Again, he's a pastor for Trump. I'm not talking about like he's just like really invested in it or he's integrated in it. No, he is actually part of the Trump theology. There is a full-blown theology behind it. And I talk about it on my main channel if you want to find it. I'm going to write a book about it, I'm thinking, because it's pretty complex, actually. Anyway, it's your fault, you see.
Yeah, we would now fight for Donald Trump. Why? We believe in justice. And when we see a man that God's put his hand on being attacked night and day,
Dude, I love that he thinks that God has his hand on Donald Trump, of all people. This philanderer, is that the right word? I think it's the right word, where people are sleeping with, like, you know, outside their marriage or whatever. Philanderer, serial philanderer, married 3 times, swears all the time. I don't think he's religious at all. I think he's our first atheist president. Truthfully, I really do. I'm sad to say. And you think this guy has God's hand on him? Really? Okay.
you are forcing us to look like a cult. We're patient and steadfast in our support of a single man. We are cult followers.
My God, dude.
Yes, we follow a man. Yes, we do. We drank the Kool-Aid and it's orange.
My God, dude, I love that. That's good. We drank the Kool-Aid and it's orange. That's funny. I appreciate that. There's a shirt in there somewhere that we could sell, right? That's funny, man. I like that. He's calling out to the traditional definition of cult, which is a group that follows a single person, a single charismatic leader. That's not the definition of cult, really. It's just a colloquial definition, colloquially understood. But there are a bunch of cults that are big and powerful, like Scientology, absolutely a big cult. Heaven's Gate, I guess they're kind of the quintessential example of a cult. And they did follow Doe, but I think that their ultimate goal was... they integrated Christianity into it. Like Doe believed that he was a reincarnation of Jesus, for example.
Drank the Kool-Aid and it's orange.
Oh, that was the last of it. Okay. That's good. I like that a lot. This guy has been neck deep in the Trump cult for a long time. Now, I got to tell you, I had nothing to do with Shane Vaughn joining the Trump cult, and neither did anybody else. This was a decision that he made long ago, 2016 pretty much. And he's turned his church into a Trump church. No joke. Listen to this clip. This is late April 2022.
This is about a God that appointed a man. And you see, I've got enough Italian in me to know what loyalty means.
Okay, Germans aren't loyal. Spanish aren't loyal. I've never heard. Are Italians particularly renowned for being loyal?
Here's the way it works for me. I love loyalty. Loyalty is a forgotten quality.
I think people value loyalty.
Donald Trump, you fought for my family. My family will fight for you.
Well, here's the problem, okay? I believe in loyalty if it's right. There are some situations in which somebody goes completely off the rails into La La Land and they no longer deserve to be defended. Like, for example, Dream, the YouTuber or Twitch streamer, whatever he is going off into MAGA land right now. Somebody who's loyal would stick by his side no matter what. Why would anybody do that? He's a scumbag. He has said some really whacked out stuff. He doesn't deserve loyalty. Loyalty is earned based on your behavior. If you're acting like a scumbag, I'm going to walk away from it. Now, Donald Trump is like the quintessential example of a scumbag. He does not represent Christian values in any way, shape, or form. Why would Shane Vaughn support Donald Trump? He has not earned your respect or loyalty or your anything. I mean, can you not see that he's manipulating you, really?
We will fight for you. You went in that White House and you made our life better. You made our economy better. You made our churches better. You allowed us the freedom to choose a vaccine if we wanted one or not.
God, no, he didn't do any of those things. He didn't make the economy better. Actually, the economy was in the toilet by the time he left office. Sure, you can blame that on COVID, I suppose, but it was in the toilet. Now, Trump did hit a historic high with the stock market. Not that the stock market is really controlled by the president. It's not like he has a dial who turns it up or down, but that's the nature of the stock market. It goes up and down. Do you know it's hit an even higher point under Biden? Historically high, even higher than Donald Trump under Biden. And Biden is leaving with a stock market like way higher than Trump's was. So I don't want to hear it. if you care about the economy, you should be voting Democrat. He doesn't. You made our churches better? How? How could Trump have possibly made our churches better? Because he's now like he's the Messiah in it? I don't understand. I'm not joking. He believes that he's the Messiah. Really. Quote unquote. Like, I don't want to go down this whole road, but just like for 1 second here.
Season, and the evidence of it is on the prosperity of the nation and the people. Donald Trump carries the prophetic seal of the calling of God. He is Joseph. If you are anointed by Yahweh for a specific plan and purpose, you are a Messiah.
Give people a moment to think that through.
Yeshua was the Messiah of mankind, but Donald Trump is the Messiah of America.
So I'm not being hyperbolic when I say he believes him to be the Messiah. Is that how he made churches better? Because you now view him as a Messiah? Oh yeah, and the vaccine thing. I'm sorry, I wanted to address the vaccine thing too. Shane Vaughn is really anti-vax, like bad. And he couldn't reconcile that with Donald Trump encouraging people to get vaccinated. If you remember, Trump was trying to get his supporters to get vaccinated because he realized that his fool supporters are going to depress the vote count and make it harder to win the election if they're all dead. So he encouraged people to get vaccinated, and Shane Vaughn, a lot of people turned against Trump for that. Not Shane Vaughn. He found a neat little justification for it. God, I can't believe how far anti-vax sentiment has come in recent years. That's nuts.
You allowed us the freedom to choose a vaccine if we wanted one or not. You fought for our freedom, and I'm not about to start second guessing your choices and what you do.
Why? Shouldn't you be checking it against the Bible and like God's expectations all the time?
If you make a mistake, it'll be on you, sir. But I will be loyal. I'm not a Tino. I'm not a Valentino.
Hold on. What the is a Valentino?
I am a Trump supporter. Why? Because God chose the man, and I've got sense enough to know it, recognize it. I know where the blessing is. Let me tell you something. When you find a blessed man, when you find a blessed ministry, you better plant your feet under that blessing, and it will fall down on top of you.
So make your religious decisions not because Jesus died for your sins and you should care for him, but because you want things. You should be looking for an opportunity to get stuff out of religion, supernatural blessings from God. And Trump is supernaturally blessed, so you should stand under him to drink up all the blessing that drips off of his wet, naked body, I guess. Okay, great. Thanks, Shane, for that one. Genius. This is by no stretch of the imagination the first or only time Shane Vaughn has compared Donald Trump to Jesus. I mean, he called him a Messiah outright. And then there's this classic one after Trump was, I think, banned from Facebook and Twitter, maybe also. I don't remember. He was at least banned from Facebook. Shane Vaughn couldn't help himself but to compare Trump to Jesus over and over again.
We need 100,000 patriots to become reporters for Donald Trump. Get his words out there, since they wanted to be so smart that they wound up being stupid, because they made the same mistake that Satan made when he killed Jesus Christ.
Satan did not kill Jesus.
By killing that one man and killing his voice, he created a world full of little Christians that echo the message of Christ.
So he's analogizing. It's not even an analogy. He put emphasis on the word Christians, if you notice, because they were Christians then, but now we're something different. What would you call them? Trumples? What is this new religion in all seriousness? What do we call it? It's a Trump theology. Trumpianism. That could be good. Magism. Yeah, maybe. What do they call themselves? Like Christians? Christianity? Trumpanzy. Just call them fascists. That's fair enough. But they can be fascists and trumpets at the same time. Trumpeters. Call them trumpeters. Magats. Trumpianity. Yeah. Donaldomite. Anyway, there's a name for it. We haven't figured it out yet. We'll get there. Anyway, so Shane Vaughn is like comparing himself or his current kind of theology to the Christian theology. He's a full-blown Trump worshiper now. By the way, he's super influential in the Christian world. He's been on TV shows and, on the CBN and all kinds of stuff. Seriously. He's not a nobody. I'll tell you what he is, though.
I've lived for the Lord my whole life, and I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
Thank you so much for your input on that, Shane. I know. I already knew that.
Echo the message of Christ. See? Stupid on the devil's part. The Bible says, had Satan known what was going to happen, he would never have crucified Jesus Christ.
Satan didn't crucify Jesus. Didn't he die for your sins or whatever? Where did he get this? Is this in the Bible? I'm sorry. Hang on. I got to find out. Did Satan kill Jesus? No, he allowed him to die. Did the devil kill Jesus? Why did Satan crucify Jesus? He was integral in the betrayal, arrest, torture, and execution. During Jesus' final meal as his disciples, Satan entered into Judas to betray Jesus. What? Okay, that's a new one. He entered into Judas? Without his consent, I assume. The question is simple. Why? If Jesus this is just from some random website that I found. The only website that's talking about how Jesus was killed by Satan. So everything in here is just fabricated pretty much. If Jesus' death ultimately brought about the defeat of Satan, why would Satan do this? He didn't, of course. As we've already seen, Satan is a remarkably intelligent being. Good idea. Compliment Satan. That's a good idea. Perfect. Why would he follow through with his plot to kill Jesus if this would lead to his eventual demise? Am I wrong here? Entered into. Oh my, right? I was trying to think of a good joke for that. I couldn't come up with one on the spot. It's a rich joke area. Somebody help me out. Am I wrong? Jesus was not killed by Satan, right? I'm looking for like any verses, anything at all. I think as far as the explanation only goes this far. Satan entered into Judas and forced him to betray. But that kind of forgives Judas, right? Judas is not to blame anymore because Satan forced him, right? John 13:27. After he received the piece of bread, Satan entered into him. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that was in there. Jesus said to him, "Do quickly what you're going to do." I've never heard that before. That is actually really interesting. So John 13, just at verse 25.
So while reclining next to Jesus, he asked him, "Lord, who is it?" 26 Jesus answered, "It is the one to whom I give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish." So when he had dipped the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. 27 after he received.
Yeah, it's giving us the citations too. Sorry about that.
He gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. 27 after he received the piece of bread, Satan entered into him. Jesus said to him, "Do quickly what you are going to do."
That's really interesting. I had no idea. Anyway, so Judas Iscariot, I guess, according to the book of John, had a role in Jesus' death, I suppose. So in some kind of sense, I guess you could interpret it that way. Fair enough. But traditional Christian thought is that Satan did not kill Jesus, that it was a sacrifice that Jesus made on behalf of mankind intentionally. He could have done all kinds of different decisions. He knew what was going to happen. I mean, none of this is true. He didn't. But he knew it was going to happen, according to Christian canon, and he intentionally followed through with the events, even by telling Judas Iscariot, "What you're going to do it quickly," so that he could sacrifice himself. So actually, it seems like it was Jesus who sacrificed himself by telling Judas Iscariot, or Satan inside of Judas, "What you're going to do it quickly." He knew what Satan had in mind, and he allowed it to play out. So you know what? I think I'm not going to accept that. Satan did not kill Jesus, or Satan didn't, he had some role in it, I guess, but Jesus chose to die for mankind.
Bible says, had Satan known what was going to happen, he would never have crucified Jesus Christ.
I have no idea what he is talking about on that one. I have never heard that before in my life.
Because what he did was he started a harvest of Christians that echo the message. He only had one man to deal with. Now he's got a whole population full of us. Same thing they're doing with Trump. Let them
There's another comparison to Trump. Are you catching this? It's comparison after comparison after comparison between Trump and Jesus after calling him the Messiah. This is wild.
Crucifying, but we're now the echo, and we're going to put it on every page, every Twitter account, everything we got. Now, because the oversight board didn't rule that we couldn't share Trump content. It's allowed on Facebook for now anyway. So take advantage of it while we can. I'm ordaining all of you right now as evangelists of the Trump revival.
And there's another comparison. How many is he going to lay down? That was like 9 comparisons in that one clip. I mean, this guy is a Trump theologist. He is a, God, what's the word for it? A Trump pastor. I don't know how else to phrase it. So there was a time when where Tucker Carlson said that he believed that Trump was going to be assassinated. It was after the attempts had already taken place. And Tucker said the deep state is going to try to assassinate Trump or whatever. And Shane Vaughn said he disagrees with Tucker, basically. Listen to this. By the way, this one is from early September 2023.
I'll tell you another plan that's not going to work. And I love Tucker Carlson. Y'all know I love Tucker.
White nationalist Tucker Carlson. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
And I don't mean to disagree with Tucker.
Why not? Why wouldn't you disagree? Okay.
No one is going to assassinate Donald John Trump. To do it, they have to go through his bodyguards. And I'm not talking about the Secret Service. I'm talking about the super secret service. Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, every one of the angels that have been assigned.
Wow, he's got a list of angels that were assigned to protect Trump.
To protect God's man.
Oh, that was the end of it. God, you gotta love this face right here, right? Anyway, that was the end of the video. He believes that Gabriel and Michael are watching over Donald Trump. And to name them specifically like that is just wild to me.
To protect God's man.
Just wild. Anyway, check this one out. This is an example of Shane Vaughn saying that his audience is basically the 12 disciples around the teacher, Donald Trump. Really?
You are the 12 disciples that God has called to stand behind Donald Trump. And if Satan can get you tired, Donald Trump loses. Because he cannot do this without you, and they know that.
Kind of surprises me. Like, I thought for sure that Shane Vaughn would believe that, like, God is going to make whatever happen, or whatever he wants to happen.
So that's why every day, drama. And then here's what cowards say. I'm tired of all the drama. It's not drama.
I mean, Donald Trump is producing the drama. It's him specifically. He's doing it intentionally because he wants attention. That's it. And I'm definitely tired of the drama. It's constant. I can't, escape mention of this guy. Unfortunately, he's a big part of politics. We've got to talk about him and what he's up to and his little followers, literal disciples.
It's not drama. It's spiritual warfare. Learn the difference.
Spiritual warfare. When Trump says Rosie O'Donnell is, what did he call it, a fat pig? That's spiritual warfare, you see. Okay?
I've lived for the Lord my whole life, and I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
Carnal-minded people think it's drama when the enemy is attacking and you are defending your territory like Donald Trump is. That's not drama.
He's defending his territory by calling Rosie O'Donnell a fat pig?
That is spiritual warfare for the nation of America. It's not pretty. It's not fun. It's not clean, but somebody's got to do it. Call me somebody.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what a Trump sermon sounds like.
Somebody's got to do it. Roar 24. I have made up my mind. I'm more determined now than I've ever been to stand behind this president. I'm more determined now to stand behind the anointing.
The anointing. Stand behind the anointing. He is a Messiah in his mind.
I don't agree with everything the man does, but I do agree with everything that God does. And if God's okay with the man, I'm ready to join hands with every one of you.
But how do you know God's okay with him? I don't understand how you came to this conclusion. Did you just hear it in a dream or something?
You and sing like the old black churches used to sing, I'm not tired yet.
Okay, wow. Such a victim. He's such a fighter, huh? For the Trump revival. Oh my God, bro. Get help, really. This is nuts. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. I gotta write this book about it. By the way, check out my other books, owenmorgan.com, Amazon and Audible, Was Hitler an Atheist? I'm releasing a second edition of Was Hitler an Atheist? It's cleaned up and, kind of modified a little bit, so keep a lookout for that. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon.
Former President Jimmy Carter has passed away at age 100. And we'll see what comes out of that. It was in the news 2 years ago. They'd gone to hospice, and I actually have an outlet that reported that he had passed away when he's 90.
I guess I'm one of those that believes he already passed away, but they saved the announcement for this particular. But it makes you wonder why they saved it for this moment in time.
These people believe Jimmy Carter's death was faked. These are literal Trump pastors, like of the Trump church. I mean, I'm not being hyperbolic. That's real. They're part of the Trump church. Now, I hear you asking, why would they believe that? I'll tell you why. Because Jimmy Carter dying creates a period of mourning. I think it's like a month or something where you should fly your flags at half staff. Is that what it is? When a president dies or whatever. And that means that flags are going to be at half mast when Trump is inaugurated. I don't know why that matters to anybody, why anybody would give a or whatever, but Trump has formulated a conspiracy around it, and these people latched onto it. They literally believe that Jimmy Carter's been dead for 2 years, and Democrats picked this moment to announce his death. Get help, people, really.
Stop it. Get some help.
But I can't prove that,
Yeah, well, I don't know if you know this, Steve, but one of the things maybe as simple as there is, I don't know, it's not the Constitution, but some ordinance that when a president of us, not the seating president, but a president of the nation has passed away here for the United States, that the flags must be half mast for 30 days.
Yeah.
And so if they figure that they want President Trump to have to be sworn in with the flag at half mast or something.
Why? What purpose would it serve? I don't understand. Why would anybody give a shit? You know my response? Oh, check that out. Trump is being inaugurated with the flag at half mast. Awesome. I move on with my life. Like, what do they think is accomplished by faking a president's death or whatever? Or like lying about it? Really? They don't know of a better way or a better time to use Jimmy Carter's death than just the flags flying at half mast? What else could we do with that? Why would anybody ever do that? Like, I just don't get it. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Okay, let's continue. All right, Johnny Enlow, man, he is something else. I think he's a good person inside. I just think that he is lost. His mind is shot. There is nothing left of Johnny Enlow up there anymore, unfortunately. He is now full-blown QAnon and believes all the conspiracies, all of them, pretty much. I mean, there are some that he doesn't believe, I suppose, but that's digging deep. He believes in Q and in all of it. This one is from November 6, 2024. It was the day after the 2024 election. He has an announcement. He got information from God himself that God instructed him to give to us as a prophet.
The Supreme Court has already ruled that the 2020 election was fraudulent.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't been announced. It's not
okay.
Been time. there has been concern, I believe, from the White Hats that it would
The White Hats, that's a QAnon phrase. We'll come back.
Possibly lead to anywhere from mayhem to civil war for them to announce that Trump is the rightful president. And that
Are you kidding me?
It would that ruling, even when we talked to Lloyd Brunson that a year or 2 years ago, whenever it was, Steve, is like part of the ruling would immediately put Trump back in power.
Yeah.
So he thinks that Trump is going to be put in power before the election, like before Inauguration Day and everything. Brother, please get help. Notice it didn't happen. That's interesting, isn't it?
Isn't that great?
And
isn't that great, he says. Again, prophecy from God.
I believe they're supposed to I believe that ruling is to be read, is to be announced immediately. That
really
that way Monday.
He pointed at his head just now. The implication is he's receiving this information from God.
And that way by Monday we can have Trump in president. They don't get 75 days to do all kinds of dastardly things.
And how did that work out for you, Johnny? I am so sad that this guy's mind is shot, and I'm disturbed and disgusted by the fact that QAnon has stolen people's minds entirely. Some head in, where did he live? I don't know if you guys knew this, but we have uncovered who QAnon was. We know who QAnon was. I'm not sure which state he lives in, but I can't find where Paul Ferber lives. He was the original QAnon. It was just a guy that called himself Q Clearance Patriot on 4chan that claimed that he was a secret, a person within the military who was working with another group of military officials, soldiers and things who are ready to take back the government at the right moment. And they call it the storm. When they start the storm, the white hats are going to take out all the black hats and it'll be a coup, all that stuff. That was Paul Ferber. But eventually Paul Ferber agreed to move the account over to 8chan. And when it moved there, the administrator of 8chan, which is Ron Watkins, and his dad, Jim Watkins, took over the account. Ron Watkins and Jim Watkins live in the Philippines, or lived at least, and run the 8chan servers from the Philippines. There's all kind of stuff. There's like CP on there. There's everything on 8chan, like everything. There are no limits to what you can pull up or whatever on there. Really depraved stuff. Anyway, that's who QAnon was. And Johnny Enlow just bought right into all of it. Believes that QAnon was secretly some guy operating in the government trying to take out the black hats or whatever who are fighting against God or some other. Interestingly enough, I actually I read a book about this recently. I've been reading a lot of books since I got this app that basically converts print books into audio, and it's near flawless. I've been reading a lot of them lately, but I took some notes on this QAnon book. Hold on, let me pull it up. It was so there's a book titled QAnon, The Storm is Here by Jack White, and he's a QAnon believer and was explaining how all of this stuff works and why he believes it and all this other stuff. And he was talking about some of the secret code that the black hats have, the cabal. Like when you hear the cabal, which is like Hillary Clinton or anybody that they don't like, basically any Democrats, anybody to the left of hunting the homeless for sport, pretty much. Whenever you hear them talking about getting a cheese pizza with somebody, it's code for CP. When they talk about walnuts or walnut sauce, it's a reference to the pineal gland, where they believe that they are going to extract adrenochrome, which is just spent adrenaline that's already gone through your body and been processed, and oxygen molecules attached to it to make it inert. That's adrenochrome. And they seem to think that it's a super special drug that gets you really high. I mean, it's all fictitious nonsense all the way down. And this guy bought into it. All of that I just said. Again, there are some deeper ones like JFK Jr. is secretly alive and he's going to run with Trump as the vice president or some other. QAnon kind of has splinter groups that have broken off and gone in different directions and have different beliefs. Like Romana Didulo is originally a Filipino, but she lives in Canada and claims to be a Canadian native. She's not. And claims that Donald Trump appointed her Queen of Canada. And, spreads all the same QAnon adrenochrome nonsense. And then you've got, Johnny. I don't think Johnny is in any QAnon splinter group. I think he just believes the basic stuff about adrenochrome, cheese pizza, walnuts, and walnut sauce. He also believes Donald Trump. Here's another note I got from this book. Donald Trump, in the last election, I think in 2020, he had this fan meetup thing where it was on Twitter, you could call in to a phone number and talk to Donald Trump in a big group chat, basically. And they sent the PIN number out to certain people to try to limit it or whatever. The PIN number was 116234. If you add those individual numbers, it adds up to 17, which is the 17th letter in the alphabet, which is Q. I mean, it's all code in their heads. They're gone. There's nothing left of who they once were. Johnny Enlow, he had a life. He had a family that cared about him. He had things going on for him. In fact, he pulled his dad and the rest of his family, to my knowledge, out of a cult that they were in. Johnny Enlow was raised as a missionary kid in a cult. It was a cult. And he started studying the Bible and explained to his whole family why they were theologically incorrect and pulled them all out of it. And now he's here. That is really sad. Triple parentheses are used by Q and QAnon people a lot. It looks like just triple parentheses around a statement. That's also a Nazi dog whistle. Like before QAnon used it, Nazis used it to signal to each other that they know that, they're also Nazis or whatever. I mean, full-blown Hitler-loving Nazis. I found that one interesting, that QAnon follows that. Anyway, listen to this next clip from Johnny Enlow. This one is from late August 2024, and I'm wondering if it's connected in some way to the Jimmy Carter one.
I have become aware in a conclusive way that there is a major name star that has been assumed to be dead for a long time. I'm just not allowed to say who it is right now, but
wow. But so you didn't tell me you're.
Okay, if he's a QAnoner, the assumption is JFK Jr. There's even a guy that QAnoners have claimed is JFK Jr. He goes to every Trump rally. He sits behind Donald Trump. He gets special merch and everything because he's a draw. People want to shake his hand. He never encourages it, never admits to it or whatever. He just keeps quiet, just shakes their hand and smiles. Well, I'll show you a clip of the guy in a minute. But that's a natural assumption if he's a QAnoner. I think here Johnny Enlow says that that's not who he's referring to.
Yeah, but now I know who you're talking about. Yes, that's going to be exciting.
I'm not even sure you do, but that's possible.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's possible, i.e. JFK Jr. is possible. Maybe he's alive secretly. No. Dude, he died in like a plane crash in 1994, right? He's gone, bro. He's gone.
Oh, well, there's more than one. There's
more than one, yes.
There's probably like 3 top ones that I hear the most. So
yeah,
if you're a person that frequents the Patriot channels,
you can
probably narrow that down to 1 or 2.
Yeah, this is somebody I interacted with in the last few days, and
you interacted with this person.
Well,
no, he didn't.
Just say the person's security.
That's a no. You did not interact with this person.
And
wow, nice.
And so I'm not supposed to say too much because if they don't see that it's the right timing, then I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
Did he get a prank call? Is that what happened? Got a phone call with like a voice filter? Hold on, I got it.
Like this. He got a phone call with a voice filter like this, and they said, "I'm secretly Q, and I'm here to tell you that JFK Jr. is really alive, and we're going to reveal it, and I'm his security detail."
Is that what happened? I mean, that's what he's telling us, right? That's funny, man. Oh man, the Trump prophets are just going wild right now. Check this one out. This is Robin Bullock. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. No, before we cover this, hang on. I'm sorry. One more thing about the JFK Jr. dude. There's a clip from him. There is a YouTube channel, I think it is, called The Good Liars, and they go to Trump rallies and like interview Trump people and like ask them really funny questions that just completely stumps them. And they went up to this guy who pretends to be JFK Jr. This is him right here.
You're back.
Holy dude.
No way.
I'm all right, man.
It is unbelievable
I can't believe
to
this.
see you.
I don't know how you know who you are, man. Always feel me. We got to get going.
Are you JFK Jr.? Please tell us.
How did you survive the plane crash, or was it just faked? We got to get going.
Just be honest. Be honest.
Wink twice if you're JFK Jr.
I'll be more than happy. 1, 2.
Yeah.
1, 2. See how he does
Dude,
it?
that was incredible.
Crazy.
Can you believe that? No.
You never know who you're going to run into in there.
JFK Jr. was over there. John F. Kennedy Jr. He was here.
Yeah, sure. How about Elvis?
You're making a joke. I'm talking about QAnon, who is John F. Kennedy Jr., who faked his own death because the Hillary Clinton was trying to kill him.
That's why I'm thinking about Elvis.
Right over there. I feel like you're not taking this seriously.
I love these people, dude. This is so good. Anyway, yeah, he pretends to be JFK Jr. And again, he just plays into it. He doesn't ever deny that he's JFK Jr. He just pretends that he's, that he is, and he doesn't say a word, which is kind of scumbag behavior in my estimation. But the Good Liars, they're good guys. They're really funny. This is a bit. It can't possibly be real. It was real. It was 100% real. The Good Liars don't believe that. They were pretending that they believed that he was JFK Jr. But people do believe that he is JFK Jr. and come up to him and shake his hand and say, I'm so glad I met JFK Jr. That is 100% real. People really do that. Anyway, check out Robin Bullock here. He's another Trump prophet who's got an interesting take since the 2024 election, we'll say.
Prophets predicted that Donald Trump would be president. And then it was stolen, and the elect pointed at the prophets.
Okay, well, let me just draw a picture for you. We've got two parts of the prophet equation. Part one is the prophet. Part two is God. God is feeding information to the prophet, and the prophet is giving that information to the people, right? Prophets claim that God told them that Trump is going to win in 2020 and he's going to be the president again. That's what they said. He will be president for the next 4 years. He wasn't. Now, who lied? God or the prophets? One of them had to have lied. When I say the prophets, I'm talking about Robin Bullock, for example. Who lied, Robin? Did you lie or did God lie?
They predicted he would be president. Then it was stolen, and then the elect pointed their fingers at the prophets.
Yeah, because they lied. God would not have given you this prophecy if it wasn't going to come true, and it didn't come true. I don't care if you say it's stolen or whatever. Either he's all-powerful or he's not.
This delusion was so complete, and the darkness was so dark, listen close what I'm going to tell you, that the church and the people could not see it.
So it was such a dark period of time for the church that they couldn't see what was happening, that the prophets were right all along. Is this a joke? Do you know why it was such a dark time, Robin? Because you prophesied that Donald Trump was going to be the president again, and you were wrong. It was all a test then, is what he's saying, right? It was all a test? Let me show you some other things that the Lord has told Robin Bullock. Check this clip out. This one is from 2021, late March.
As far as homosexuality, this is what I heard.
From God.
And I'm going to tell you something, and I want everybody to take heed. This is
Lay it on me.
what I've heard from the Lord.
Taking heed over here.
Homosexuality is a cover-up for an evangelist.
Okay, not sure what that means. You're losing me here, Robin.
People that are in that lifestyle are really called evangelists by the Lord. And
okay, so you're telling me you think that everybody that is gay is actually supposed to be like a door knocker, like a door-to-door salesman, Bible salesman, basically, is what you're telling me? That God called them to do that?
This is a spirit that attacks that to stop it.
Oh, I see. So Satan gave gay people the gay lifestyle choice, I guess, to prevent them from being Bible salesmen. Okay.
So instead of just praying a lot of things right here, what I'm led to do is to call forth the gift of evangelism that God has placed on their lives to come forth, and it will drive that other out.
Oh, so if you just become a door-to-door Bible salesman, like I was when I was little, I guess, like 10 years old, then you won't be gay anymore, which I never was, to be fair.
So right now I call for the gift of evangelism, that call from God, that those that are bound up in homosexuality, that the evangelist anointing will come upon their lives, because that's what they are. And we say to the evangelist inside the homosexual, come forth, come out of that tomb. And
the tomb of the gay lifestyle choice.
And come forth in Jesus' name.
My God, dude, these people are cooked. Like, their brains are done. This is crazy. I don't know why this is so deeply entertaining to me. Like, is that wrong? I don't know. Tell what you think about these people in the comments. This is just insane. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they worked together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.